Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies, gentlemen, peeplings, earthlings everywhere. Well, let's talk about Harry. First of all, I'm going to do this very much as if it was a live. I hope you can all hear me over the wind, but I've got to have the door open because it's quite hot today. I'm going to do this in the style of a live, as if you're all there in the comments, because I think this is such a huge issue that you all want to talk to each other. I feel you need to talk to each other, and then I can be in the comments as well. That's if I can figure out how to do it on my phone. So what I'll do is record this. It's going to be a long one, which you'll realise why in a minute. And if I can figure out how to do it, I'll schedule it so it doesn't clash with anybody else, or hopefully not with anybody else. And it is going to be a long one because, wow, when I first heard Harry lost his security appeal, I wasn't surprised at all. I knew, a lot of you knew. A lot of you understandably were very worried, and we have seen some pretty weird and disturbing decisions by courts in recent years, haven't we? Judge Warby, no names mentioned, and he's of the same bunch, isn't he? I think Bean was on that one as well. Well, anyway, it was obvious he was never going to win, and I thought, well, I've got to get on with what I've got to do, because we've got the house. I finished the house is all good. Then we moved everything to the boat. I know you don't want to hear all this nonsense. And then I was still finishing the back deck, and I put I'll show you everything at the end of the video. And the first set of the railings are up, and 100 tins of Brasso later, and some lacquer, and etc, etc. So I thought, I'll just leave it, Fiona, because knowing Harry and Meghan, there's going to be a lot more forthcoming. And rather than make video after video after video, as and when, it's like a Gatling gun, isn't it? Let's just wait and see. And lo and behold, there's been an interview, of course, which I'm sure you've all seen. So partly what I want to do is go through and do a video review of that interview. I see he's put out an extensive statement on Sussex.com with royal monikers and everything. I've heard that the palace have released a statement. Now, I've watched his interview with the BBC over and over and over. While I've been doing Brasso on my railings, I just kept pressing replay, just to be sure if I really heard, if it really happened, if he really said all of those things. And my initial response and my overall response hasn't changed. He is the man that will not be told. You could put him in front of an inanimate object. I don't know, like let's say, for example, this stuff. I'm not sponsored by these people, by the way, but I bloody well should be. This one's called Stark. I've got another one called Aladdin. It's like Brasso. I ran out of Brasso. And showing Harry something like this, and him saying, I want to use this and rub it on any metal and it'll turn into gold. And a load of people would try and explain to him that's never going to happen. It's a metal polish. It will never, if you polish copper, copper will come up shiny, but it will always be copper. If you polish stainless steel, if you polish brass, bronze, it will always be what the initial, and him going, no, that's not acceptable. When I use this stuff, I want it to turn the metal into gold. And so he tries suing the people who make it, and the courts and the judges and everyone go, look, it's a scientific fact. You can't rub it and turn it into gold. And then producing a load of expert witnesses and scientists, and him still giving an interview and saying, this is so unfair because I need money and I need this stuff to turn it. It's like that, isn't it? So I've listened to this interview over and over and over again. So I think that part I can get through quite quickly. But his statement I have deliberately not read. I read like the first couple of lines and I thought, no, I'm going to do this as if we're all on a live, and I have never read this before. So you'll get my initial thoughts. Oh my God, I think I've got brass all over my glasses. I mean, this guy, he just will not be told. So it's on Sussex.com. I'm sure you all know about this, but I mean, you can all be chatting about this. I've got it. Oh, right. Let me turn the phone this way. No, it won't turn. Okay. I'll have to expand it. I want to start by thanking my legal team and the Court of Appeal judges for their time and expertise in unravelling this issue that stemmed from the previous government. I mean, he seems to think that the current government's going to be on his side. I'm not so sure they are. Don't know. I mean, I'm not sure this is aren't politics and the royal family just never supposed to mix? And I think that's something that number 10 Downing Street, no matter which political party is in power, and the palace are and always have been painfully aware of. They mix like oil and water. Clasping at straws, that's my impression on that. This process has only ever been about ensuring my safety and that of my immediate family when we are in the United Kingdom, so that we may safely visit my home country with the same level of security that other governments deem necessary for our protection. Well, in his interview, he says, well, we'll come to that, but he says that they've made it so he won't get protection in any country. So I don't think he was just worried about the UK. My ask has been simple, strange phraseology, that the standard protocols for security and risk assessment be applied to me in the same way they are applied to others, including people who have never carried out any public functions on behalf of the state. I don't know who he's talking about there. I don't know what category of person he's referring to there. But I mean, the guy's like so entitled. He's like, I'm a prince, therefore, well, we're going to come to everything. The court's ruling confirms that the Executive Committee for the Protection of Royalty and Public Figures, known as RAVEC, and comprised of senior officials from the Royal Household, Home Office and Metropolitan Police, has failed to follow in its own mandated processes for me, which are applied to all other high-risk and high-profile individuals. Given my profound concerns over this issue, I will be writing to the Home Secretary to ask her to urgently examine the matter and review the RAVEC process. That's Yvette, I can't think of her name now. I can see her face, I can't think of her name. Well, the court's ruling confirms that RAVEC have failed. No, I think the court's ruling is saying that it's perfectly reasonable. Do you see what I mean about that? I want this to make this gold. This legal action has been a last resort. Well, it's been one of many, hasn't it? But one that has uncovered shocking truths. Oops, I nearly lost my place there. With the fact that the royal household are key decision makers on RAVEC and my sole representation for matters regarding my safety. Well, yeah, it's your fucking prince, aren't you? Royal household, royal prince. The clue is in the word royal, Harry. Who else would represent you? Why, when it's RAVEC. What's RAVEC stand for again? Let's just go back to that bit. For fear of losing my place. Hang on. The Executive Committee for the Protection of Royalty. So it's got the word royalty in it, has it? Yeah? And you're asking for permission for a protection on the basis that you're a royal. So I'm guessing it wouldn't be number 10 Downing Street. No, because you're not a politician. I'm trying to break this down. I'm trying to get into the guy's psyche. We're really going to get into the psyche of Harry when we get to the interview part. In this process, I've also learned the names of all those involved, many of whom retired immediately after playing their part. Well, that's probably because your grandmother died, isn't it? I'm not laughing at the fact that the late monarch died, but when there's a changing of the guard, there's a changing of the staff. I'm just guessing. Could that be the reason, Harry? And also, why are you only learning all this now? Goodness sake, man. You are a member of the royal family, the most dim-witted one, I think. And you never made it your business to find out about Ravek. In fact, I read his barrister or one of his team said about a week ago that he's learning all about what Ravek is, 5 years later. Well, what is this bloody Ravek thing they keep talking about anyway? How important is this? What is it? I bet Harry thought, when they first said he couldn't have security, I bet he thought, I bet it's a load of royal butlers and maids who don't like me, and they've all decided. I don't mean to laugh, but I mean, the guy is, oh my God. God forgive me. I may smoke during this one as well, because it's unbelievable. I've actually known people like this. I've known at least 3 members of staff at Dolphin Safari who, after they'd left, came back months later claiming they were owed wages when they weren't. They're terminated, they get their last pay packet, but because they're a bit skint, they think, fuck it, I'll try it on. I haven't worked a day in months, but I want a bit more money. Oh my goodness. In November 2017, before the royal household's role on Ravek was known, well, but everyone else knew, Harry. I think it's just you didn't know that bit. Answers below, please, people. This secretive committee... Let me just... I'm going to do the guy some justice, just check he didn't actually put that... no, it really says that. This secretive committee concluded that when my wife would join the royal family, she should not receive protection. Only when I asked for the name of the person willing to carry that risk did they reverse the decision. I don't believe that. Are you serious, Hazza? You think that Ravek is a secret organisation? Well, if it was, it's definitely not now, is it? Sounds like number 10 Downing Street, whatever government, have known all about it. Sounds like the security forces have known all about it. Sounds like your family's got a pretty good idea what it is. But you didn't. And therefore, because you never bothered to look into it, I bet he just thought, right? I bet this is Harry. Oh, I've got to smoke, guys. I've got to. I should be smoking something stronger because then maybe I'll get on the same vibe as him and I'll be in on the secret organisations and stuff like that. I bet all his life he's probably gobbed off to people, hasn't he? And they just vanish. I dealt with him. These magical entities called security guards just came along and fucked him off. In fact, there was somebody I remember on the telly or in a magazine or something saying he'd met Prince Harry in a nightclub. He went over to say hello to Harry. Harry had said hello to him. He said next thing he knew, he had gigantic hands on both... Oh, what the fuck was that? On both his shoulders, and he was... Woo! He flew out of the nightclub and he was gone. And I bet Harry was there, a few drinks later, oblivious. Where did that guy go? Oh, he must have been scared of me. I don't know whether to laugh or cry. Where is Princess Diana when this guy needs her the most? I mean, is there anybody out there around him apart from his crazy wife who can explain to him that Ravek is not a secret organisation that's got it in for him? Wait till he finds out about MI6. That'll be a day. He'll have to hire a team of lawyers to explain it to him, won't he? In fact, that's what he's just done. It's just cost the guy $1.5 million in costs, his own and the other side. when he could have just gone to a lawyer and said, "Do us a favour, can you explain all this to me? Because I don't know anything about this secret organisation." And they could have sat down with him, you know, like a primary school teacher who teaches little kids to read and write could have sat down with him. Let's carry on. We're nowhere near through this. My goodness, and this is 15 minutes already. In 2020, RAVEC refused for the first time to conduct the required annual risk, threat and impact assessment that their own policies demand. The intention of this assessment is to be objective and free from bias and interference to confirm the security required. The result was stripping me of the protection I'd had since birth from a secret organisation that he had no idea existed, let's not forget, while signalling to all other governments to do the same. So he just wants security for him and his immediate family while he's in the UK, but now he's talking foreign governments. What's going on here, Harry? I think you might also find, Harry, that those countries have their own secret security organisations, but we don't want to overload Hazza with too much information. You might, if you start explaining to him about the CIA, how it was, you know, KGB, God's sake, don't mention the Mossad. Fucking hell. Or anything in Ukraine. I don't know what Ukraine's equivalent is, but they're bound to have one, aren't they? Right. So it's protection he's had since birth, while signalling to all the other governments the same. This reckless action knowingly put me and my family in harm's way. Life is precious and I understand the fragility of it. Well, thank God for that. Praise the Lord, at least he knows about mortality. We're making some progress now. I mean, 5 years ago, he was even more full of himself, wasn't he? And I don't think he had a clue. I'm not sure he's got much of a clue these days. But the reckless action, Harry, firstly, was you flouncing out of the royal family without a second thought of any repercussions. You're talking about a committee, the Home Office, the government, an entire institutional organisation. You're the one that made reckless actions, and then you go public, tell everybody in the whole fucking world. I mean, if he hadn't mentioned this, I'm not sure anyone, I can't remember, was it him who announced it, or was it the, no, it might have been the government themselves actually who said that his security was being pulled. I can't remember. There's so much bullshit gone, isn't there? Throughout 2020 and 2021, I attempted to resolve this issue privately, even offering to independently cover the costs of necessary and effective police protection. No, you definitely said that public, Harry, because I know about it. No, I'm a member of the public. You definitely said that bit public. In order to keep me and my family safe. No one responded directly to me about my offer when I made it. And even though I challenged the refusal to let me pay, my legal claim failed. Right, hang on. We're getting a bit muddled here, Harry. No one responded, but then they let you know you couldn't pay for it. How did they let you know you couldn't pay for it if they didn't respond? And I'm sure they'd have noticed a legal action. We all did. Is anyone else seeing some flaws in the plan? Good grief, if only this stuff would turn any base metal into gold. Wouldn't that be marvellous? To this present day, the royal household. Who does he mean by the royal household? Because when I listen to the interview, sometimes I think he's talking about personal secretaries, etc. And sometimes I'm getting the distinct impression he's talking about members of his family. It's a bit of a loose term, that. I think I'd like to pin him down on that one. What exactly do you mean by the royal household, Harry? To this present day, the royal household remain my sole representation on RAVEC for every visit. Well, yeah, they would be, wouldn't they? Because it's palace business. You're a prince from the palace. So they're going to have some members of the royal household. I think we covered this earlier, didn't we? And could call for this assessment to be done at any point. Well, I don't know the intricacies of that. The only possible conclusion that can be drawn is that they choose not to because they know the outcome would prove that my security should never have been removed in the first place. He really thinks he's valuable, doesn't he? I mean, there are many princes. Do they get special treatment? Oh, has her? You're not even that close to the throne. Why? You know, why? In recent years, my family and I have been subjected to well-documented neo-Nazi extremist threats. Well, Harry, welcome to everybody's club. Who hasn't? We've all got, there's always nutters around. We've all got nutters. I've had nutters myself. I dare say a lot of you have had nutters. Including from Al-Qaeda, who, didn't you rev them up yourself, Harry? I'm sure other people are going to point that out. There are individuals in prison on UK soil because of such threats, and yet, since 2019, a proper risk assessment has not been conducted. This is not only a deviation from standard practice, it is a dereliction of duty. What is the point in this statement? Really? I mean, what is the purpose of this statement? He's lost. Who's he talking to with this statement? Does he think that with this statement that the court are going to go, oh, maybe we should give it to him after all. He makes a good case. He's better than his barrister, that fancy, expensive lady barrister. Yeah, he's better than her. What was she called? Fatima. Yeah, Harry builds a good case, so I think we'd better give it to him after all. Why is he writing this? So he's writing this thinking the press are going to print it and that the whole world's going to agree with him. Think he might be barking up the wrong tree. The stark difference is I was born into lifelong circumstances that create inherent risks. He has got tickets on himself, hasn't he? My decade of military service on PlayStation, there's video evidence, there's photographs. I actually asked Trevor Coulter, I said, how much PlayStation did you play when you were in Iraq and Afghanistan? And he went, none. There were no there were no plug sockets or PlayStations. The old Prince Harry, yeah, he did. That was all part of the PR thing, wasn't it? Particularly 2 tours of duty. Isn't there a game called Tour of Duty or something like that? I think that's what he's talking about, isn't it? In Afghanistan, as well as social and tabloid media frenzy, have only intensified those threats, uncovering how my immediate family's safety was knowingly put at risk, as well as who was behind it and who sanctioned it, has been truly devastating. Well, actually, and I'm really sort of trying to get into Harry's head on this one. If I recall, when they made the announcement they were leaving the royal family, I do remember someone called Megyn Kelly saying, oh, give me a break. You're escaping the palace full of security. And I think she said all that before the security was pulled. So a lot of people would have assumed, if you step outside the palace, that's the big, bad, real world. There could be some bad guys out there. As well as who was behind it and who sanctioned it, has been truly devastating. No matter where we may agree or disagree, I would never wish harm on anyone. I should bloody well hope not. Why would you? These legal proceedings have revealed to me that this basic duty of care was not and is not applied to me. Again, I ask, who's he talking to in this? It's true that I have been treated as an exception on this issue. The conditions of my security were not made based on threat, risk and impact. They were made based on my role. One that my wife and I wanted to maintain, but that was ultimately refused. No, it wasn't. You were given options by your grandmother and you wanted half in, half out. And she said, no, you can't do that. Do you want to be in or do you want to be out? And you said, I want to be out. She even gave you a fucking year to think about it. In that year, you could have read a book on royal security. You could have found out a little bit more about this secret organisation that every other bugger on the planet knew about by that stage. maybe smoking a little bit less of whatever might have helped. Well, he's probably on antipsychotics and psychedelics and all kinds, isn't he? I think he said something about that in his book. Ravek's ability to make decisions outside of its own policies, well, you threw him a curveball with an unusual circumstance that didn't fit their policies. And the so-called political sensitivities of my case, what political sensitivities? You're not a political animal, you're a bloody prince. Prevailed over the need for fair and consistent decision making. Well, there's nothing consistent about a prince who goes like that to palaces, castles, all his heritage, all his friends, fucks everything off because his idiotic, insane wife says so. I want to go to Hollywood and be famous. The court has decided to defer this, revealing... What do you mean defer this? I thought they made a decision. Did they say, well, we'll do it later? Revealing a sad truth. My hands are tied in seeking legal recourse against the establishment. This all comes from the same institutions that preyed upon my mother, excuse me, that openly campaigned for the removal of our security. Diana, as I understand it, requested removal of her own security because she didn't trust them. That was her decision. That openly campaigned for the removal of our security, and that continues to incite hatred towards me. No one fucking hates you, Windsor. They laugh at your wife. They're irritated by you. I think there are champagne corks popping across the country at the moment because you lost your appeal. That's the impression I get. Towards me, my wife, even our children. No one fucking hates your children. Don't pull that card. While at the same time protecting the very power that they should be holding accountable. The UK is my birthplace and I will always be a part of who I am. It is a place I love and the country where my son was born. I've only ever wanted to continue my charitable work in supporting the causes and people that mean so much to me, and for my children to know the beauty of my homeland. I remain committed to a life of public service. This has been and will always be my life's work. And when you strip away the noise, Meghan's words, like the engagement interview, I tune out all that noise, you'll be able to hear all I've been asking for is safety. Bollocks, Windsor, bollocks. And you could easily bring your children to the UK. Easily. It's absolute nonsense. And I don't think there's a single person out there. Any person, probably Diane Durham and the likes of lunatics like that. Let's get to the video, shall we? Let's review Prince Harry interview. I've got to type it all in, guys, so you have to bear with me for a second. Prince Harry interview, BBC. Right, so I'm doing this under fair use and fair dealing. This is the
in an exclusive interview
guy at the
with
beginning.
BBC News. Prince Harry has said he is devastated about losing his latest legal challenge over the security he receives when he's in the UK.
I hope you guys can hear that.
The Duke
Now,
of Sussex's taxpayer-funded protection was downgraded back in 2020 after he stopped being a working royal. Well, he appealed, arguing he was singled out for different, unjustified and inferior treatment. But 3 judges at the Court of Appeal today rejected that.
Something I want to point out as well, I saw in the Daily Mail today that the BBC have been criticised because the interviewer gave Harry no pushback whatsoever. And the BBC apparently have actually issued a statement saying, yes, they agree with that and there should have been pushback and he should have been made to...
Following that judgment, he's told the BBC that it is currently impossible for him and his family to return.
He doesn't actually say that. He said well, we'll come to it, but he didn't actually say never and it's impossible, I don't think, but we'll check that out.
He's also said that because of the current situation, his father, the King, isn't speaking to him. Well, Prince Harry is currently living in California, where he's been speaking to our correspondent, Neda Tawfik. And we can bring you that extended interview now.
But, obviously, pretty gutted about the decision. We thought it was going to go our way. but it certainly have.
Seriously. Oh, adverts. For those of you in the UK who have to pay for a TV licence, there's a lot of adverts in this because the BBC is uniquely funded, you know, by YouTube monetisation. So he starts off by saying, we really thought it was going to go our way. My analogy at the beginning. Oh, come on out. Advert. And they're in Spanish because I'm in Spain. Skip.
It certainly is proven that there was no way to win this through the courts. Wish someone had told me that beforehand.
Now, that's the most shocking thing. And bear in mind, I've listened to this interview over and over and over while I've been doing the railings. That's how he starts the interview. We thought we were going to win. Sadly, it would seem we can't win through the courts. And then he says, I wish someone had told me this at the beginning. That is, to me, that's the most shocking thing he says in the whole interview. And he says a lot. But he wishes someone, I think a lot of YouTubers pointed this out, actually, back in the day. I think the press, maybe he should read newspapers. I think the press pointed this out. I bet a lot of people pointed this out. He wishes, so he seriously thought he was going to win this. I remember some loony called JJ I used to have on my case in my comments saying to me, he's going to win every single court case. Well, he's had like tiny weeny victories, but on the whole, he's lost all of them, hasn't he? To see these kind of people, you can warn them and warn them and warn them. Don't keep running in that direction. There's a cliff edge. Whoa, whoa. It's just before they go off the cliff. I know what I'm doing. I know best. That's Harry, isn't it?
Yeah, the decision has been a surprise as well as not a surprise.
Not to me, and not to a lot of you guys, and probably not to the press. I doubt it was to Ravek. I doubt it was to the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper. Got her name now. I bet a load of you have already typed that. The only person who's surprised Harry is you, and probably your mental balmy wife.
So, for the time being, it's impossible for me to take my family back to the UK safely.
Okay, he has. He said it's impossible. Now, he's opened up a big can of worms on that. If it's impossible for him to return to the UK, he cannot be a Councillor of State. He's got to be removed from that. At least Andrew's in the country. He's got to go. He's got to be off the list. He's building a really great case to lose his titles, all of them. Prince and everything, the whole bang lot.
You're obviously very deeply affected by this. What memories, experiences had you hoped your children, Archie and Lilibet, would have had that you think they won't be able to now with this decision?
Well, for a start, the only time that I've come back to the UK is sadly for funerals or court cases. With the odd charitable function where I can in between that. I put myself at risk for that, but I will continue.
Yeah, but whoa, dude. When you came back for the coronation, you'd got security. When you came back for your grandmother's funeral, you'd have got security. When you came back for your grandfather's funeral, you would have got security. So, I mean, you have not put your life at risk.
Life of public service, so I will always support the charities and the people that mean so much to me. I can't see a world in which I would be bringing my wife and children back to the UK.
Don't bring the wife back there, God's sake.
And the things that they're going to miss is, well, everything.
Pint of lager. He wanted to say pint of lager down the pub. Oh yeah, I better not say that. They're little kids. They probably would. That's me. They probably wouldn't want to do that.
Done. Despite what some people in that country have done.
Well, he can't be talking about me because I'm not in that country. He'd be talking about a lot of you guys there that are in that country, you naughties.
So, I miss the UK. I miss parts of the UK, of course I do. And I think
I bet you do.
It's really quite sad that I won't be able to show, my children my homeland.
And as you say, you've gone back several times during this years-long battle. What about the security arrangements that were in place made you feel it would be unsafe for you and your family?
there's only so much that I can say because of the redaction process and the national security matters at hand, but everything.
Everything.
Because in 2020, beginning of 2020, I was scored the highest as far as risk was concerned, and then overnight I was reduced to the lowest without actually.
I'm not sure I entirely believe him on that statement. I really am not sure I entirely believe him. You were the highest risk, were you, Harry? And then you became the lowest risk. I mean, I think the guy's open to embellishment, outright lying, fibbing, whatever you want to call it. I'm just
going through the risk
not
management
sure
board.
I agree with that statement there.
One does
He'd have to
question
prove
how
that to
is
me.
even possible, and also the motive behind that at the time, and that was in 2020.
The motive
And as
behind
hard
it
as
is you threw a situation at the system, at the institution that they'd never come across before. And they weren't sure how to deal with it. There was no precedent. And so they did the best they could because it was an unusual circumstance.
to appreciate or understand why the decision was made the way that it was in 2020.
Well,
The hardest
because
thing for me-
that's when you announced you were leaving. And as I say, it was an unusual situation. Many judges, many people, many committees, many governments, I'm sure, many lawyers have tried and tried and tried to explain this to you, Harry.
has been the fix of that decision for the last 5 years. The fact that I still haven't had a risk management board assessment done for me over the last 5 years. Everybody else.
Well, I don't know what's involved in these risk assessments, but he's not even living in the UK. So how are they going to do a risk assessment? I'm
within
not
this
sure about that
group
one.
of people get it at the minimum once a year.
Oh, jealousy
So
much.
again, I would not have taken this far if I didn't have compelling evidence of facts that
You don't have any compelling evidence,
that
dude.
reveal why the decision was made.
I'll tell you
I'm
why
sitting
you've
here
taken it
today
this
talking
far,
to you.
because you're full of arrogance. You thought you were a prince. You thought you could pressure your dad. Thought a bit of emotional blackmail, won't see the grandkids, etc. Because your wife egged you on, you really thought you were going to win. And a very expensive team of lawyers saying, yeah, yummy, 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 keep paying us money, who didn't mention now you're probably going to fucking lose. That's why, isn't it?
You know, we've lost the appeal, but the other side have won in keeping me unsafe. So
No,
again,
no,
there's a
no.
lot of question mark.
And I think you'll find, Hazza, no matter what government of the day, all governments have to work with the budget. That's what the row's normally about, isn't it? Different political parties focus expenditure on different priorities. That's sort of loosely speaking, isn't it? A political argument. They're not really interested in wiping a royal backside and changing a royal nappy because of a royal tantrum. That's not generally the focus of any political party I've ever come across. I think you'll find, mate, there was a big row in France about issues like this, fucking hell, and it didn't end well.
A lot of people will have. I have all of the truth. I have all of the knowledge now throughout the legal process. I've uncovered.
Oh, he's got a lot of
worst
legal
fears.
knowledge now. He's uncovered. He found out there's a secret organisation called Ravek. Bastards never told him about that before.
And to now know today, based on this judgment, that there was no legal framework that constrains the decisions of this body, Ravek, of which the royal household sit on.
What? It's like he thought. I don't know if there is a statute. I doubt it. I don't. It's like, what you mean? The king doesn't have absolute power, but what about the law of the prince? The law. Can you imagine if this guy was king? Fucking hell, he'd have us all up in the tower. He'd have the YouTubers all lined up and the TikTokers, Instagrammers all lined up and shot. He'd be like, I'm king and I say, wouldn't he? Oh my God, I think this fella needs to study. Perhaps he could start with something simple and uncomplicated, as I say, like the French Revolution. Or, better still, a bit more recent, he could have a look at the Romanovs. Or his own grandfather, who was painfully aware of how things can go south. Or maybe, he lives in America. He could look into how come the king isn't the king of America. Because it should be, shouldn't it? Then he could have everything he wants in America. Yeah, and that one will be in English, won't it? Because he might get all confused about Russia and France. Yes, probably best to explain to him about how the States fought for independence and what happened there. And it was actually someone he's related to. I bet you he does not know that that guy, George III, is actually related to him. I wouldn't be a bit surprised. This is going to take a while, isn't it?
That until this legal process in 2021, one of the first things my lawyer said to me was, as disclosure started, or as this process started, she turned around and said, "Did you know that the royal household sat on Ravek?" And my jaw hit the floor.
I don't believe his lawyer said that to him. Did you know that the palace are involved with royal security? The royal palace, the royal family, the royal household are involved with royal security, royal executives, and royal business and royal matters and affairs. What? You fuck off. You're joking. Oh my God. You mean all my brother, William, who I don't like, people who work for him, people in the same institution? Oh, good God, you mean they're the ones that make the decision about my security all along? Oh, my jaw hit the floor. I wish I'd been there when if his barrister did explain that. Maybe she did. Or maybe it was this sort of scenario. Harry, I've got to explain something to you very slowly and simply, and you have to understand.
I want to ask you about that because the King's private secretary sits on Ravik now.
Sir Clive Alderton, yeah.
Do you wish
And
your father...
and another person as well, but yes.
And another
Do you wish
person.
your father had intervened, despite how that may have looked?
Great big long silence now, which I personally interpret as yes. Because she says, "Do you wish the king had intervened?" And he goes on, silence. Then he says, "I never asked him." So wait, that's a yes, isn't it? He thought his dad had absolute power. Absolute. Like a benevolent despot. Huh? He had one of them as a relative before. Now, which one was it? I think it was, it was Bedpan Baby's dad. It was his brother, the uncle. Oh, I can't think of the fucking name now. And I'm British. I think he was he was one of the Stuarts, wasn't he? Oh, I can't think. It was after the Tudors, but there was one, benevolent despot they called it. The name will come to me.
I've never asked him to intervene. I've asked him to step out.
Well, how would you if he's not taking your calls?
This Ravik committee is an expert committee, full of professionals.
Oh, now it's whoa.
It took my grandfather just 3 weeks
got
to
another
go
advert.
from XXL to L.
Yeah, my
Here's how
chair.
he
Try
did
that
it.
chair yoga. I always get that
Just a
advert. Do you? Well, now Ravik's an expert committee. It's not a secret organisation that's got it in for him. Tell me, guys, did the interview come first or the statement on the Archwell? And who wrote the fucking statement then? Because the two they're contradicting each other, aren't they?
And the royal household don't have any role in that
No,
Ravik committee.
no. Royal household shouldn't have anything to do with royal security and royal business and royal affairs. What's it got to do with the royal household? I would imagine that committee of experts would want to know, may we see, for example, the principal's diary of events? Will they be visiting any dodgy countries on state visits at the request of the Foreign Office? You know, like, for example, to a war zone like Ukraine, where this guy went. I'm surprised he didn't take his wife and kids for a picnic in the middle of a fucking minefield in Ukraine. It's coming, innit? He'll do it.
The helping influence the decisions based.
Well,
on
everyone on the
members
committee's
of the
going to
royal
have
family.
some influence on the decision.
And 5 years later,
Cretin.
every single visit that I do back to the UK has to go through the royal household.
Well, yeah,
Representative.
if you want security, you're going to have to tell him each time you come. Oh my God. He does. He thinks it's like fairy dust, like security guards they'll just turn up. It's like magic. It happened all my life. It's incredible.
On the Ravik committee, still to this day, is the royal household.
Well,
It's
of
not
course.
a decision that I choose. I am forced to go through the royal household and accept that they...
Right, what he wants is his wife to go and represent him, innit? Because she was in suits. She was a lawyer. Who else is going to represent a royal prince? Does he want his own lawyer to go and talk to the committee? Cool, I bet they'd love that, wouldn't they?
putting my best interests forward during these conversations and the deliberations. So no, I haven't asked my father to intervene. The whole point of a risk management board.
I bet
which, as I said,
you haven't
everyone else
asked him
gets, but
because
I
you
haven't
can't get
been
hold of him. He
given
doesn't want to
since
talk to you. He hasn't
back in
taken your
2019 was
calls.
the last one that I was given. The whole point of that is to have a board and a risk assessment, a separate board from
He's really obsessed about this risk
considers
assessment, isn't
all
he?
of the facts and all the
Because he
circumstances.
believes that a risk assessment carried out by an independent body, they're going to come up with a different decision to all of the courts, all of the lawyers, all of the judges, all of the governments. And let's not forget, Conservative and Labour governments fucking hate each other. They barely agree on anything ever at all, but they seem to agree on this one. He thinks that independent, this is like his last call. I want a security assessment. Oh my God, there's loads of this to go.
System and an assessment that is designed to be non-biased and to
Yeah, he wants an
avoid
independent
interference.
company to agree with
What I
him.
know throughout this legal process is the interference that was created came from the royal household.
Right, now,
And,
this is what I mean
whether-
is we need some clarity on what is the royal household. Who are the royal household? Because he blurs it a bit here.
Chair at the time, who I believe I can talk about because he's no longer there, Sir Richard Mottram. The first thing
Oh, he's a proper little name dropper, isn't he?
well, the first people that he went to go and see was the royal household at the palace. So whether it's
now-
the media or whether
Is he talking about private secretaries or is he talking about principal members of the royal family? Do you see what I mean? He's being quite vague.
it's anybody else that claims that the royal household and my father and my family don't have any decision-making capabilities.
Now,
on
so
that
he is
level, then
talking
what's
about
that?
his father and his family. Because it flicks throughout the interview. 1 minute the royal household for him means staff. Another minute the royal household means the actual royal family.
role. They're not experts. What's their role on that? And Sir Richard Mottram emailed back in January of 2020 that an RMB would be necessary before taking my security away. After his visit to the palace, that RMB that was planned was abandoned in
I'm not
favour
sure
of,
I believe that either.
alternative governance measures.
What the court decided today was that
Yeah, the court
they were
decided.
justified for 4 reasons to not have that review. And a major part of that is because you're no longer a working royal. A change in
See,
your
even
status.
this
Did you
lady,
not
right?
accept
Even this lady who's
that from the
interviewing him,
court?
she's trying to put it in the nicest possible
my
way.
status hasn't changed.
Oh, he
can't
was
change.
born a prince.
I am who I am.
I'm a
I am
prince.
part of what I'm part of, and I can never escape that.
Ooh,
My circumstances will always be the same.
ooh.
But with
Hasn't
a
he got
specific answer
tickets?
to the question, there are comparisons that exist. And
I've got to speed this guy up. I don't know about you
I have to be
guys.
careful what I
He's
say, but I think it would be quite shocking for the British public and the public at large to understand or know that, in fact many people do know this, that people who leave public office receive lifetime protection,
now.
regardless of whether there are threats or risks to them. So for me,
I'm not entirely sure who he's talking about there, but I mean, he thinks that the British public would be shocked. I don't think they would, Harry. I think you're the only one. He goes on later to refer to people who've done 4 years service, and I'm thinking he's referring to ex-prime ministers. Now, I don't know if they get security for the rest of their lives. Maybe they do, because generally, anyone who's prime minister is fucking hated by an awful lot of people. There are some people who like them, but there's always a large bunch of people who don't like them. Right? So he's probably talking about prime ministers. And if he is, if I'm right, and we'll come to that bit, he thinks they just put their CV in and go, I want to be prime minister, and they get the job. He doesn't think that, for example, let's take Margaret Thatcher as an example, that she spent years and years and years of her life building her political career in order to get the opportunity to stand for election and hope that her party would win and she'd be the leader of the... You know, he just thinks, no, it's just 4 years. 4 years, you know. Current one's Keir Starmer, isn't it? Now, I've only been aware of Keir Starmer since 2016. Because I was interested in politics at that point. I don't know much about Keir Starmer, but I would imagine before he became the Prime Minister, which I think was last June, he had years and years and years and years and years of political career. I would imagine Rishi Sunak had years of political career. Boris Johnson, Theresa May, Liz Truss, David Cameron, Margaret Thatcher. Winston Churchill, he was into politics an awful lot, but he was also a soldier, but he had years and years and years of political career. You know, Harry thinks that when you're, and I'm just guessing he's talking about prime ministers here, where he refers to a 4-year term later. The guy seriously thinks that's it. Well, yeah, that was 4 years of service. Doesn't realise they've got to be an MP. He's really fucking clueless. It's actually quite tragic listening to this. My God, we're up to 50 minutes now.
With a whole list of risks and threats that were known about in 2020 and that have only increased over time, including the Al-Qaeda threats.
I have speeded him up now.
Recently.
Well, you started the Al-Qaeda thing.
Thrown away, ignored, because for me, security was made conditional on having that official role. That role that everybody knows, myself and my wife.
I can't believe it. They took the key to the executive toilet away from me because I resigned and left the company. Fucking outrageous. I need that executive toilet and the company car. The bloody hell do they think they are? But he was born a prince. Oh, isn't he arrogant? Really?
Wished to carry on, but was stopped from being able to do that back in 2020.
What do you say to those who ask,
you left.
why should the taxpayer pay for your
security? And another thing, don't you remember all their fans at the time saying, oh, you just all want him to come back. You want him and Meghan to come back. Well, they're telling you to fuck off. They're coming to America. They don't need you. They don't need you. Remember Omid Scobie and all that, all those years ago? And loads of people were like, is he crazy? He's going to lose his security. Well, no one does want him back. We're glad he left. And now,
if you have your own private security, where are the gaps there? What's your response to those who say you're getting police protection on a case-by-case basis?
This is interesting.
Why don't you ask that question again, but in 3 parts?
Oh!
Because you just put 3 very, very important questions together.
Sure.
And I can't possibly answer all 3 of them.
Yeah, you naughty girl. Fucking repeat it and get it right this time. I'm a prince of the realm. Who the bloody hell do you think you're dealing with? Don't be bombarding me with 4 questions in one go. That's not what was agreed before. Meghan?
Anytime.
Sure. What do you say to those who ask why the UK taxpayer should pay for police security? You have your own private security.
Well, first off, private security can only do so much. Again, I can't go into the details of that, but I think most people will be able to work that out. One of the major things is they don't have jurisdiction in a foreign country, or in any country. They don't have
Whoa. But in your statement, you said just England. Now he's talking foreign countries. I'm thinking he's talking having access to serious security data and information. For example, your name and address. Who are you, unknown entity on the internet? Perhaps access to social media companies where they can demand the identity very quickly. I think that's what he's talking about. He's not talking about fearful of dodging a bullet out on the street. I think he's talking about hunting people down, which I do believe personally was going on back in the day when they were in the royal family.
Police protection is effective protection, which is what my
He wants people arrested. Another advert. Oh, the naughty BBC. Don't forget, they're uniquely funded.
They both look young.
With regard to the taxpayer part of it, I don't need to go into detail how much the royal family costs or how much protection costs or whatever. What I will say is that some of the British tabloid press did a very good job in campaigning to have our security removed.
He's going on and on and on about how much the royal family's protection costs. Don't start that one. What are you trying to do? Get a referendum on the royal family going, you spiteful little brat.
By quoting figures such as £20 million. Right, and through this disclosure process, I've seen constituents in the UK write to their MP saying, I don't want to, as a taxpayer, I don't want to pay for Meghan and Harry's security.
Sorry, which MP has shown Harry letters from constituents? Now, I've never actually written to an MP when I lived in the UK, but I'm guessing a lot of you have. When you write to your MP, is that public record, or do data protection laws kick in there where you have privacy rights? So which of your letters has he been given access to read, or is he just lying and making that up? I've read letters from constituents written to their MPs. Really? Which MP allowed that? Because that's got to be got to the bottom of, don't you think?
At this cost, they're literally quoting headlines from British newspapers. Those figures are obviously grossly exaggerated by about 18, 19
Oh,
times.
go along with that. Newspapers do
And further to
exaggerate.
that, how, if you know that other people are being protected, people that have made a choice for public office, then why wouldn't you be comfortable, happy with someone in my position who's given 35 years service to his country?
Or he's given 35 years service. How old is old Hazza? What is he? He's 40, isn't he? So he's been giving service since he was 5 years old. What fucking service were you doing as a child? And even as an adult. The only part of service he can count is his military service, kind of. Even though there was an awful lot of PlayStation involved in that, which we've all seen. Which was all part of a PR campaign to make Harry look cool and fun. But I dare say, and he brags that he was really good at certain Call of Duty and shit like that because he played it so often. So he's talking about all the free security, dinners, the highly privileged life that the royal family lead. Because he went and cut a few ribbons, he's claiming he's done 35 years service. Oh, this guy's unbelievable, isn't he?
2 tours of Afghanistan. And the threats and risks to my life, I was born into this position. I was born into those risks. And
Oh,
they've
you
increased
poor
over time,
darling.
along-
Oh my God, he was born into the royal family. Fucking hell. Fucking hell. Shocking. If only he could have been born into a war-torn family in the gutter with no money or food. Damn it, them's the breaks. But he was born into as a royal with millions of pounds at his disposal. And hierarchy in society, and he was so popular. Oh my God. Oh my God.
With my marriage to Meghan and the frenzy
Yeah,
across
that's
media
where it all
and
went wrong,
social media
mate.
that created. So, you know, and I guess on top of that as well, probably what people don't know, but that is mentioned in the judgment today, Radek protect private citizens. You know, I was made a private citizen by the royal household, not by Radek, by the royal household. I can't be a private citizen. I will never be seen as a private citizen. I will never be treated as a private citizen. Not by the media, not by...
Well, you're not
most
treating
people,
yourself as a
someone
private
that
citizen.
that
You're
that
Prince
wants
Harry and you
or
need
my wife
security.
or our kids. So,
Plus-
so, you know,
Going on about, I will never be a private citizen. Kicking off about it. He's begging for South Park, isn't he? I mean, he's begging for it. He's asking to be served up on a silver platter to
I
him.
think once people realise or understand that there are private citizens who have never played any role in public office and never will play any public role, that because they are high risk, they are protected at taxpayers' expense, and rightly so, because it will affect...
I don't know
not only that
which
person
category he's
could be in
talking
a
about.
hospital or worse, on UK soil. But it comes down to impact, and it comes down to the reputational impact of the UK if that person or those people are injured on UK soil.
I think it might be on
And
you,
just to be
actually,
absolutely
Harry.
clear, what is the difference between the top level security you say you should have
Now, this
and
is
the security you are
interesting.
given on this case by case basis when you go?
So the details of the security I can't talk about. All I will say is that
Should bloody well hope
last
not.
time the assessment I was given, I scored the highest. The only person within the family that scored anywhere near that was my grandmother. Overnight,
Oh, he's
I was
so
reduced to the lowest.
important.
This
He's
case-by-case
so
basis has
important,
been
isn't he?
used, by
He's more
the-
important than the late
and also
monarch.
by large sections of the British press to say, well, what's the big problem? You're given something on a case-by-case basis. Unfortunately, that case-by-case basis is separated by the reason for my visit.
You
So, yeah, sorry, just to give you more context on
This
that.
is the context.
It's not really a case-by-case basis. It's an either-or. If you're invited to the UK by your family, then we will give you security. If you come for any other reason, then you will get a very low amount of security. I'm not going to confirm what that is, but it is completely insufficient. Somewhere along the line, people have talked about the fact that all it is someone on the end of a phone. So.
Oh, do me a favour. Someone on the end of the phone. What, like anybody else? Because we've all got someone on the end of the phone. It's called 999 in the UK. In the America, it's 911. Here in Spain, it's 911. He's exaggerating that. That's bollocks. Bollocks. But then he gets to the bit why he needs the
private security around
security.
me. There's only so much that I can do and how and operate and function within the UK when it comes to supporting my charities, visiting my friends, all of these things. So, you know, I've been treated very...
Visiting
very
his
differently to
friends?
Everybody else that exists, all examples that exist, past, present, I have been singled out.
I think this is worse than Prince Andrew's interview. I really do.
You've spoken very openly about the fact that you think you've been punished.
It
for
kind
leaving
of
the monarchy.
peels back the layer
Who
and you
specifically
see
do
the
you think is trying to punish
arrogance.
I don't think that anymore. Now I know that it was, security was used as leverage.
Oh,
what
this
really
is the...
worries me more than anything else about today's decision, depending on what happens next, is that it's set a new precedent that security can be used to control members of the family. And effectively what it does is imprison other members of the family from being able to
Oh my
choose a different
God.
life.
I don't know how
you
to describe this, but
if
imprison
someone-
other members of the
security is conditional
family.
on having an official role, one that both myself and my wife wished to carry on, but then was rejected. Not by Radek,
No,
rejected by
it
Royal
wasn't.
Household.
The
And
Queen
result of that
said
is
you
lose
can't be
security,
half in,
and basically
half
said you
out.
can't live outside of their control if you want to be safe. But so there's a pretty hard decision there.
This
And
guy,
if
like I
you
say,
strip
I'm
away
coming
all
back
the
to the
noise
tin and the
and
gold,
everything
aren't
that's
I?
been said by other people and all the noise that's been created around this, if you strip that all away, I think what people will hear is that the only thing that I've been asking for throughout this whole process is safety. Both when I was when I was part of the institution and when.
But you had safety when you were part of the institution. Listen to yourself, please.
My wife.
You threw all of that
Again,
away,
I'm
Harry.
not sure how much
You
I
threw
said
it
before.
all away for
I can
Meghan.
never leave
Was
the
she
whole family.
worth it?
Yeah, that is my family. That is my larger family. I left the institution because at the end of the day I had to. I didn't leave it. in
No,
2020.
you
I left it in
didn't.
2021. But security
I
was
think they were
removed in
kicked out.
2020.
Honestly,
Speaking of your
I
family,
think they were
your
kicked
father
out.
is ill with cancer. Will you continue to visit him alone without the family? Where does this leave things moving forward? The ability of your children to see their grandfather?
Life is a precious thing, and I'm acutely aware of the fragility of that.
Good. Well done, mate.
I can only come to the UK safely if I'm invited.
And you're not going to get invited.
There's a lot of control and ability in my father's hands. Ultimately, this
Well, he'd have to
resolved,
invite you,
through
wouldn't he?
Not necessarily by intervening, but by stepping aside, allowing the experts to do what it is.
Oh, that's a low blow. So he's implying that his father's interfering and needs to step aside. I'm going to get another fag, guys. This is what I mean. I'm going to treat this one as like a live. You know me on a live. I'll pop off to the loo and all sorts. Right, where have I put them? Oh, I've lost them. So, I'll open another packet. Fuck knows. Do you ever lose things like that and you just think, oh, sod it? And then as soon as you open another packet, you find the first one. I mean, he's got to be like heavily on drugs, hasn't he, or something like that, to not understand at all what's going on. He's got no grasp of reality. He's got no grasp of this at all. My God, we're 2/3 of the way through.
That said, there is this all was initiated under a previous government. There is now
What's
a new
that got to do with it? What government was in charge?
I have had it described to me.
Trust me. That won't have any relevance at all. I wouldn't have thought. I mean, I'll be surprised in the days to come if the Labour government decide that Harry needs his security. He says he's going to write to the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper. Well, she can be quite a prickly old prawn, from what I've seen. I mean, a Labour government, the theory, right? Let's talk about the general ethos of how it works is they were initially, I think the Conservatives are the Workers' Party, but trying not to get political. Labour Party are like, don't like Royal, want steal from Royal, give to poor people, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? I'm not trying to offend anyone who's left wing, right wing. I'm just trying to explain. I think that Harry might find that the left wing press are going to be less than impressed with what he's saying here. He's not going to be winning any favours at all at number 10 Downing Street at the moment. I say that part for what it's worth. For those of you that might be fearful, I seriously can't see. I think the right wing Conservative Party are far more likely to have taken a sympathetic view towards the Royal Prince, which they clearly didn't, than our Labour government. I mean, I think that's the way round it is. And I think if any of you guys out there are left wing and you vote for Labour, I think, wouldn't you think that is kind of a big part of it?
Facts that this is an old-fashioned, good old-fashioned.
And don't get me wrong, a lot of
section.
people in the Labour Party are monarchists. A lot of left-wing people are monarchists. But what they want from princes who are going to be publicly funded by taxpayers is they want work out of them. They want some contribution. They don't want them to just go, we just want access to MI6 and piss it up the wall and live it up in California in the United States of America and do fuck all to contribute or promote the country,
What it feels like.
So should Keir Starmer step in?
I think that, based on the judgment that the court has put out today, it clearly states that Radek aren't constrained by law. Again, I wish somebody had said that from the beginning. If they're not constrained by law, then this decision was made by
He
the
didn't
Royal
know that from the
which means
beginning,
that
and he's
on national
claiming no one
security
told him
matters,
that.
Which the other side have used national security exclusions and excuses to withhold certain information from me, which stripped me from being able to speak about.
Whoa, he's admitted it there. He wanted access to MI5 and MI6. And there can be only one reason, and that is so he can look up what he calls threats, which would probably be you, me. He's actually gone and said it there, hasn't he? They've denied me access. Oh, what a naughty little monkey he is.
Certain things to the public, that this national security matter is not bound by any law, and that Rebek can abandon the very processes, the very expert processes that exist to protect individuals and the people around
So
them,
he
as well
wanted
as the decision-makers
access.
themselves from
Or rather his wife
if anything should
did.
happen. So, I would ask the Prime Minister to step in. I would ask...
He'd ask the Prime Minister to step in.
To look at this very, very carefully, and I would ask her to review Rebek.
Not only the Home Secretary, but the Prime Minister. I can see King Charles dropping his glass of wine in the evening in it, like in slow motion, and it's smashing. Yes, I want the Prime Minister involved. The royal family that is inherently not involved in politics and would never, ever dream of interfering with any Prime Minister. Harry's just said it. He wants the Prime Minister, and before that he said he was denied access because of national security. Well, thank God for that. Thank God for that. Clearly MI6 have looked into Meghan and Harry and decided they're a bloody bad risk, and they are not allowed access to any of that information at GCHQ. Thank God for that. Thank God for MI6 and MI5. Thank God for the Home Office. Thank God for the Foreign Office. You can bet there will have been loads of meetings, both sides of the Thames, at Millbank and at Babylon, about this fool and his wife. And they have looked into everything. I bet they've looked into her entire background thoroughly, but more thoroughly than when she was going to marry this dickhead. And I bet they've found all sorts of interesting stuff that Prince William probably knew ages ago. And I bet they thought, no. And then there's old Big Mouth Flat Lips on the BBC. No wonder the King won't talk to him.
And its members, because if it is an expert body, then what is the royal household's role there? If it isn't to
Where's there? Well,
decide.
I'll explain, Harry. The royal household are there because it's very much their bag. They look after the principals that are working there.
What they want for the members of their household.
Do you want the court battle to continue? Do you want to try to see this get to the Supreme Court?
I don't want any battles to continue. There is way too much suffering and way too much...
Don't give it. There's way too much suffering in the world. He doesn't want any battles to continue because he's skint. That's the truth of it. That's what I think.
conflict in the world. At the heart of it is a family dispute. And it makes me really, really sad that we're sitting here today.
Well, wait a minute. 1 minute it was you keeping your family safe. That's what it's all about. It's always been about your safety. Now at the heart of it is a family dispute. They were kicked out. That's what I think. It's looking ever more likely, isn't it? They were kicked out or asked to leave.
5 years later, where a decision that was made, most likely, in fact I know, to keep us under the roof. But then once we realised that wasn't going to work...
I don't think so.
That, myself, my wife and our kids are happier outside of the institution.
Well, if you're happier, then fuck off.
Look at the risks, look at the threat, look at the impact. That if anything was to happen to me, my wife, or...
Then it will be your fault, Harry.
If anything was to happen to them, look where the responsibility lies.
With you.
So, there's a duty of care that has been completely thrown out the window. And that doesn't feel great. Whether we agree or disagree, and there's a lot we agree on, there's a lot that we disagree on.
I think you'll find you're largely despised within palace
where's the
walls.
duty of care? Because, as I said, life is precious, and it is very clear that from 2020, because I was no longer allowed an official role...
My God, it's all about him, isn't it? It is all about him. I know the interview's about his appeal, he's just lost, but can he not hear himself? That 3 members of the royal family have got cancer. His father, his sister-in-law, and his aunt. But it's all about him and precious life. It's all about him. That's far more important than what they're going through. Couldn't care less what they're going through. Couldn't care less what his grandmother went through. Couldn't care less what Prince Philip went through. Not interested. It's all about him.
Institution that my life got devalued from the highest score to the lowest score.
Oh my God, here we go. I bet he's one of these people. He's like a dog with a bone in the palace. I bet he just... If he gets a smaller portion or a cheaper present at Christmas or whatever, I bet he never shuts the fuck up about it. I bet they think, oh God, here comes Harry. Don't get eye contact. Before you don't get some papers, let's talk to each other. Laugh and disperse. Oh, is that the time? I'm very busy. Here he comes. Oh, and another thing. Oh my God.
Given you have expressed
Bet
numerous
it's a
times
nightmare to live with.
that you do not want history to repeat itself.
I don't want history to repeat itself.
Nobody does, Harry.
And the majority, they also don't want history to repeat itself. Through the disclosure process, I've discovered that some people want history to repeat itself.
Like who?
That's quite a statement. Who do you think that is?
I'm not going to share at this point. I know all the names of the people.
Hang on, he's not going to share at this point. Isn't that what he said on Oprah about the racist allegations? There's a member of the family that's a racist. He's not going to share at this point, so he's going to share it at some point in a book or some shit like that.
This process. And again, you have to question, why wasn't I put through the same risk management board?
Because you left.
Including members of my family.
And you reject it not because you're no longer a working royal.
Sorry?
And you reject that it has nothing to do with the fact that you're no longer a working royal.
You can actually hear the nerves in this woman's voice. I bet he's got a right temper on him. She's obviously sitting there shitting herself, thinking, I hope he doesn't get the knock and get up and walk out on me or something. I want this. This is the biggest interview ever. So she's like, he's like, I was treated differently. And this woman really politely and with a little bit of a quivering voice, so you reject that it could be that you're no longer a working member of the royal family. Oh, on his face.
Role or not is irrelevant.
It's irrelevant.
To the security needs that I would need.
The security?
Let me rephrase that. Whether I have an official role or not.
There's someone in the background, I think, who's just said to him, don't be fucking rude. And he's like, let me rephrase that. Smiley face, sorry, I forgot. I'm not supposed to let the cat out of the bag now. I'm an arrogant bastard, a spoilt royal brat, and asking for something that no one else in the world has got. Yeah, okay, good point, Meghan. Yeah, don't worry, I've got it covered. I bet Meghan's in the background going, this is going to go down in history like Andrew's interview. I haven't even looked at what the response to this interview has been. I've been busy with the railings and just listening to this shit over and over and over again.
To the threats, risks, and impact on the reputation of the UK if something was to happen. And again, that is proven.
Oh, it's the reputation of the whole United Kingdom. If anything happens to this ginger-haired
having
prince.
An official role was conditional on keeping security. But for everybody else, people who have chosen this life to enter into public office and then leave, get it for life, regardless of whether they have risk or threat to their name. And by the way, I agree with that. I think that is absolutely the right thing to do. That if you come and serve your country,
I'm glad you agree.
Even if it's a minimum of 4 years.
Even if it's a minimum of 4 years, that's the bit I think he's talking about prime ministers. Nothing important. Whether you like a prime minister or don't, or hate them or love them, the fact of the matter is, it's the top political job in the United Kingdom. It's not something to be sniffed at or dismissed, is it? Which is what this royal, you're prime minister. You worked hard to get there, and all these elections, like popularity contests, aren't they? Well, I don't need that. I was born a prince. Oh, and didn't he write a book once when he said the man he's become, not the prince he was born, or something like that? Well, it sounds very much like he's pulling the old prince card a lot to me.
Require because of your public service. I was born into this position. It wasn't a choice. I've served my country for 35 years. I believe I'm still continuing to serve my country. Public service is my life. That is the dedication that will
No,
never
it's
change.
not. No, it's
all the other
not, and everyone
businesses that
knows
add to that.
it.
There are very, very real threats that exist out there. Some that I know about. Some
There
that I
are
don't
to
know.
all of
And
us.
for people
Pop it.
in power and responsibility of decisions to know that those threats and risks exist. But to turn
It's
around and say,
almost
well,
like
you
he's
don't
trying
have
to
a
run
role.
for Prime
Your life
Minister
doesn't actually matter
himself.
anymore. You can imagine how I feel about that, but you can also imagine, don't even imagine.
Oh
that
my
is
God.
The most illogical argument in the history of arguments.
I think the
And then
most
finally,
illogical
as you
arguments in the
mentioned,
history of
the
arguments is
interconnection to your
probably
country
made
and
by
public service.
you.
After this years-long battle, do you think your relationship has changed with the UK? Do you feel let down by your country?
It's a big question. At this point, I'm
So
feeling
a simple
very-
no wouldn't.
It's a minority of people, especially
A
those that have
minority.
to
He
pass
really
themselves-
thinks he's really
to pass
popular,
themselves
doesn't he?
inside
They
so
must
much
live in some
towards
fucking
myself, my
bubble,
wife,
him and
our
his
children.
wife.
But that's hard to forgive. There are decisions that have been made. There are things that have happened since 2016, especially throughout my whole life. But that's just since 2016. There are things that have happened.
That's
that I can
obviously
forgive.
when he met
I can move
Meghan,
past that.
isn't it?
I can forgive
2016.
My family's involvement, my father, my brother, and my stepmother. I can forgive.
Oh,
the
how
rest to a large extent as well.
magnanimous. He can forgive his brother, his father, and his stepmother. So he's having another go, is he? Oh, Harry, you don't learn, do you, dude?
For so many
Well,
things.
clearly not.
What I'm struggling to forgive, and what I will probably always struggle to forgive, is that a decision that was made in 2020 that affects my every single day. And
Well,
it is
you
not only
made the
bringing
decision
my
to
family
leave.
in
That was
harm's way.
the decision that's
Everybody
going to
knew
affect
that
the rest of
there
your
was
life
a risk in
forever.
2020, and they hoped that me knowing that risk would force us to come back.
No.
But then when you realise that didn't work.
No,
do you know what- do you know
I
what
think
to
they
just keep
said,
us safe?
please be
Whether
sure
you're the
about
government,
this,
whether you're
because...
whether you're my dad, my family, despite all of our differences, do you not want to just ensure our safety?
No, well, why should they? Oh my God, you're a fully grown fucking man. This man's 40. Holy shit. Has he got no, like, embarrassment? I mean, people go on about the Prince Andrew interview. This is way worse. Way worse. I mean, does he have any idea how he's coming across? Where's that person in the background again to go, don't say shit like that. That's very unpopular. Very unpopular.
Secretary and the government to do a review of RABEG. And I'm also asking for an R&B assessment that I haven't
Right.
received since
He
2019.
wants, that's all he's asking for. Prime Minister. Home Secretary.
Sounds like
Make a
the last
decision
step
now.
to repair relations
Immediately.
with your family is
That's
the
all he
security
wants.
issue, like what you said there.
100%.
At one point, I remember him and his bitch wife wanted to ride on Air Force One, didn't they? That's all. Well, you're going the same way as us. Well, actually, you could stop off in Los Angeles before going to Washington. But if it's too much trouble, we'll get off at Washington and we'll sort ourselves from there. I mean, this guy is...
Whatever noise has been created...
It makes you wonder how spoilt he was as a child, doesn't it?
And, you know, put yourself in my shoes. If you step back to try to create a different role, the same official role, but a different working relationship with the institution that you were born into for the sake of your wife and your own mental health and your child, which now, of course, a lot more has come out because I felt as though it needed...
So how is your
the
mental
story
health
needed to be
these
told.
days? Did it work out great for you? Because that was the excuse,
I don't
escaping the
regret
palace,
that.
finding freedom, was going to help you find financial independence, help your wife who had bad mental health. You were going to get you earn your own money, pay for your own security. How's it all working out for you, Windsor? Yeah, was it a brilliant idea? Oh, bugger off, seagulls.
At all. But 2020, when that decision happened, I couldn't believe it.
The decision
I
that
actually couldn't
you
believe
made
it.
to
I thought All
leave.
the disagreements and all of the chaos that's happening, the one thing that I could rely on is my family keeping me safe. And not only did they decide to
He's
remove my security in the
40.
UK, but they
Well,
also
it's got to be
signalled
40,
to every single government
41,
in
and
the
he
world
needs his
not to protect us.
daddy to keep him safe. He really has no
How are you
shame,
feeling
does
about this
he?
decision? Because clearly you have 2 children, Archie, Lilibet. They're not
She
able to
says
see their
clearly
grandfather,
you have 2
their
children.
uncle, their
Bit of
cousins,
sarcasm
in a way
there.
that you feel is safe for them. So what's your feelings kind of moving forward? Is there any way
You can hear
this could be
that
resolved?
this woman's really scared of him.
Firstly, I'm devastated.
We're nearly there, guys. We're nearly there.
Not so much as devastated as with the loss that I am about the people behind the decision, feeling as though this is okay. Is it a win for them?
What people behind the decision? Well, the royal household, the royal family, RAVEC, which you said is an executive professional committee of experts. Would it be the Prime Minister? Would it be the Home Secretary? Would it be the High Court? Would it be the Court of Appeal, the 3 judges that just rejected your appeal? So, you know, the people behind this decision...
You know, that I don't get the protection that the threats...
No, you're not
and that
going to get
say
the
that I should.
protection.
And
you're not getting
consider it a win.
access
I'm
to
sure somebody's out
MI6
there,
files.
Most likely the people that wish me harm consider this a huge win.
No, it's like
that's
fucking
life.
everybody's trying to explain the
This is-
basic principles of gravity to you, and you think you can fly.
There have been so many disagreements, differences between me and
I can
some of my
imagine.
family. This current situation that has been ongoing for 5 years with regard to human life and safety.
Human life.
It is the only thing that's left. Of course, some members of my family will never forgive me for writing a book. Of course, they will never forgive me for lots of things.
Yeah, think
but,
really.
There is. I would love reconciliation with my family.
No chance, mate.
You know, there's no point in continuing to fight anymore. And I said life is precious.
They just want you to
I don't
go
know
away.
How much longer my father has? You know.
Oh, he doesn't know how much longer his father's got. Oh, tactful. Very tactful, Harry. Very, very tactful. And do you know what I think he means by that? I don't think he gives a fuck about his dad. I think what he means is we don't know how much longer my dad's going to be the king, because holy shit, when my big brother's the king, I'm in the shitter up to my fucking neck. And I think Meghan's going to... Well, she won't leave him because she hasn't got a billionaire lined up yet. But I can't see this. I can't see them sticking together after this one. That's probably what she's been hanging out for.
Security stuff. But it would be nice to reconcile. And I love
It's never gonna happen, mate.
About Canada because of the Invictus Games. Their goal in life was always truth and reconciliation. And I turned around to them.
Try
in the conversation, I
truth
said,
for a
"Right,
start.
Reconciliation can't come without truth.
Or
I've now found out
just
the truth.
recalling the order of
I've shared
events
some
in
of
the
it with you
correct
today.
order.
A lot of it exists out there, whether people choose to ignore it or not. You know, so it would be nice to have that reconciliation part now. If they don't want that, that's entirely up to them.
And now that,
I'm guessing they
battle's
don't
over.
want that.
do you feel you will be able to approach your father and speak about some of those issues?
I mean, if No, I don't think he would ever want to talk about it. I think he would just push it aside, and the argument will continue to be this is a government decision. It may well be a government decision.
It is a government decision.
You know, when the Rabbit Chair, the first place that they went to was the palace. To
He's
understand
not
the royal household,
an
the royal family.
absolute monarch, you
I've
fucking
never, ever
idiot.
been allowed or offered to make my own representations. Not in 2020 and not for the last
Oh my
5
God, he's
years.
going to represent
The
himself,
Rabbit Chair
hence the
continues to avoid
200-word statement that I
answering
read
some
out at the
specific
beginning, I
questions that
suppose.
have.
You're a genius,
one of the
Hazza.
previous questions
You're a
I think is really
genius. You should
important
always
is to
represent
basis.
yourself in court. I've had enough of this. I'm sorry, guys. It's near the end anyway. I can't stand it. I've listened to this over and over and over and over and over again, and I'm sure I'll mention it once or twice again in the future. Right. I'll show you the railings before we go. It's coming on quite nicely. And the deck. I shall try and show you. Now. Let's have a look, make sure I'm not attached to anything. No, I'm not. There we go. Oh, one of my cushions has blown down. Hello, you're on YouTube. Huh? You're on YouTube. Oh, there she goes. She's going to run away now. So, when it's not blowing a hurricane, I can sit here on my new chairs. And I discovered something about the railings that in the evening, when I'm having a glass of vino, I managed to get the height just perfect so I can rest my head. And so I've been polishing them all up, and they, as you probably know, they patina quite quickly. But it's too windy for me to lacquer them. I've got some hairspray in the first instance, and then I'll put some clear resin over the top so they're nice and shiny. I'm really rather pleased with them. I don't know why Harry can't just count his fucking blessings. I really don't. I mean, that's what I do. As you all know, we as a family have obviously, it's been a difficult time. But what we're trying to do is count our blessings. And amongst those blessings is all of you guys. I really, really appreciate each and every one of you. I appreciate the fact we're all still alive. We're all still together. Graham would want us to carry on. The sun is shining, and to count one's blessings in life. And if only Meghan and Harry could learn to do that, they'd be a lot happier. But they're not going to do that, are they? They're going to keep this winding up for a long time to come. Thank you all very much for listening to all this. And I hope, well, I'll be in the comments as well with you guys when I release this. I'm not sure what time. I hope we all have a bloody good chat about this and chew the fat. May your God go with you.